All right. Hey, welcome back to the Go for CEO channel. This is John the Bomb. Building others means business, and super excited to bring you a local, just great mindset. I just had lunch with this individual. Dominic Pavell owns Era Fitness in Fox Lake, Illinois. And I bring you CEOs, founders, entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs. And this guy, really has developed his career and then saw an opportunity of someone that was, wanting to get out of her business, and he took over and bought this business and has really started to revolutionize some of the ways that they're looking to go forward. They're building some pretty cool, neat things that I've been hearing about with fitness and teams and all these types of things, and teamed up with another CEO. So I'm super excited to bring you Dominic Pavell from Era Fitness. My man, thank you so much for coming on the Go for CEO channel.
John, thank you very much for having me. This is going to be an awesome opportunity for both of us, and I'm looking forward to it. It's my first one, so bear with me.
Yeah, all right, awesome. Well, hey, that's part of the premise of how I started this a couple of years ago. Is during the pandemic 2020, I saw a lot of my buddies in the restaurant business and other businesses kind of go out of business. I always felt like the big names, Mark Cuban and Grant Cardone, and all these big guys that have some big social media presence. But what about like the small business owner, the guy that's doing, $1 million, $500,000, $1 million, $3 million? Nobody knows them or her, right? It's not really social media presence, but hopefully this channel, people are learning like what it takes to buy a small business like you did, seller finance. What do you do to integrate value add that business? How do you grow from there? And then some of the things that you're talking about, which is really growing to a different level, like taking your Era Fitness and exploding into different areas that can really bring a ton of value to the communities that you serve, to the people, to the kids growing in their athletic space. So super excited to have you on. So, we like to start with impact. So Go for CEO community, be ready right here. Dominic's going to share, let's go into Era Fitness. Like, what is it that you guys do that kind of differentiates yourself in the fitness world? And then we'll start going, a little bit from the history of buying it to, so on and so forth. So take it away.
Yeah, thank you. So our biggest thing is, besides, serving members and customer service and building relationships, I've been in the health club business for 20 years. When I graduated from college, my undergrad was exercise physiology. I might not look like it now, but I worked for a company called Midtown Athletic Club. They used to be Tennis Corporation of America, local Chicago, family-owned business and everything. And we did some training. And one of the salespeople, and this has been a profound statement, and it's been 20 years now, was members will always quit clubs, but members never quit friends. And that family environment has always been profound to me. I really truly value relationships, and I try to do that and get involved with the members that I have at our club, is always building those relationships to maintain the retention of our club. And that's, I've always liked the health club environment, because there's always opportunity to meet people and hear their stories. And that's why I really liked, Era Fitness was a perfect location for me. And the previous owner had that same vibe. When, I would go in there during due diligence and I would talk to the members, and they just loved the owner that they had, the previous owner and everything. And her and her husband had run it and built relationships. And it wasn't like, nothing knock against Lifetime or LA Fitness or any of those, or Planet Hollywood, or Planet Fitness. I wanted to call them Planet Hollywood. But they were just numbers. They want to get to 2,000, 3,000 memberships, and everyone would, who wouldn't want to be at that level, but to really maintain the relationships and value the members, because those clubs, the members quit members. So if they don't really have relationships, they jump from one club to another, or they join a 24-hour or anytime fitness type of thing. And I really value the relationships. That's what I love, getting up in the morning and seeing how other people are doing. And if something's going wrong in their life, I want to help them out. And, communication is key, and especially during COVID. I mean, I bought the business in the heart of COVID, but, knowing that I was going to open it up, and I wanted, and I can't tell you how many people, were thankful that I opened the facility up just for the social interaction aspect of it. And they missed their friends. And they're still members to this day, 3 years later. And that's always been my philosophy on any business is relationship management. I hate, as employees, I hate turnover. And I just try to always build those relationships with the employees of friendships. I had a lot of kids that went off to college. I still communicate with them and text them. And then when they come back, they, if they have another job or something, they still want to come back. I have open arms for them, and they can work out, and, and the members value the relationships and always keeping up to date. So it's and then also being a veteran, I'm very pro police, fire. It's a very, it's a small community. Fox Lake's, population of 15,000. But in the radius, it gets up to about 30,000. But everyone is very pro police. I'm right down the street from the police station. So, and right by the high school too. So I try to help out the teachers and the students and anyone. And, I would have the cross country team in the wintertime come in the club, and, then I'd start following those athletes and their journey of trying to achieve, greatness in high school, but then maybe try and run in college. And, a handful of them have done that and run in college and everything. And kids always like to hear, coaches we're old, we get old. So, we can't do it anymore, but the kids always love to hear us following back up with them and checking it up on them, and, and seeing how well they're doing or if they're struggling, and, always giving them that positive reinforcement to know, okay, use this opportunity to, your overall goal is you're not going to be able to run for the rest of your life. It's, but you can use that opportunity in athletics to develop you as a student, as a person. And, and then when you go on for, like me, I played in high school. When I was in the Army for 4 years, I was on the all Army basketball team. And, and, you still have those relationships, and that's what's most important. Is no one will remember the wins and losses, but the relationships that you have and the friendships that you build is what's really most important. I coach travel basketball and coached in college at Oakton Community College, and I still keep in contact with those players. It's been 17 years since I coached at Oakton. And that's what's really most important. That's why I bought this health club, because I wanted a small community based business to build relationships of, where I live, and, and the other communities around it.
Nice. Well, look, I mean, I love how you start off, right? People or members quit memberships, right?
Mm-hmm.
Members don't quit friends and community and the things that you've been able to build. And how cool is it that you coach for quite a long time, junior college, high school, team atmospheres. And then you bring that mindset into a business that had kind of built that culture, and then you take over and it's seamless, right? You can kind of integrate into a community, integrate into a business, and then take it to another level. So tell us a little bit. I want to go into, because a lot of times as a small business owner, maybe you're an intrapreneur mindset before, right? And you become an entrepreneur, and you didn't found this, but you led to the next generation, right? So what are some of the ways that that you started thinking about the type of business? And then also I'd like to get into, how did you creatively get into this business? Because it's really neat. A lot of people don't know about seller financing. A lot of people don't know that business owners may be out there just thinking like, man, I can't get out of this business because maybe there's someone inside of it that can't buy it, or it's not enough money out there, but maybe a seller finance potential. So I'd love to kind of go into that aspect of it.
Yeah, of course. So the owner, I had gotten to know her and her husband through just networking. They owned a couple other small businesses and stuff, and sadly to say, her husband passed away, and that was something they were doing together. So her kids were getting older. That wasn't really her passion. So, but she was older. She's in her mid-50s. So she reached back out to me, wondering if I was still interested. And I went over to her house. We, cracked open a bottle of wine and, had a couple drinks. And I'm like, look, I go, I'm not looking to go anywhere. I'm not gonna, I want to build this for. I have another plan to build a multi-sport facility, and I go, what better way for you to have residual income than, finance this business? I'll pay you monthly. We worked on the rent, and then I financed the equipment and her business, and we came up with a number. And I'm like, no other place can you really use this asset to create residual income for yourself. And if you're, speaking about retirement or thinking about retirement and everything, and she loved that idea. And we just kind of hammered out a win-win situation, and just God willing, right place, right time, it worked out. There's ups and downs with it, obviously, as the memberships flow up and down and everything. And sometimes the way we have our agreement, it's, sometimes a little less on the rent, sometimes it's more on the rent, sometimes it's less on the business purchase financing. But it's consistently her income has been in the five figures each month. So it's a win-win for her, because no other retirement would she be getting that, as a small business owner. So that's you always want to make it a win-win. I've never been the type of guy to, you run into a lot of people where they brag about how they, really got over on this person on a business deal, and, really, I don't want to say screw them over, but, took advantage of them, of the situation. And I've never, my mentor was my grandfather, and he's always said that, like, you treat people the right way, and just create value and create ad. If you're buying a business or something like that, no, you never want to just, go in there and undercut them and steal anything, pretty much. So that's how I really approached it. I said, here's fair market value. It's just the basic model, 2.5 times cash flow, type of thing. And then we came up with a good rent.
Yeah.
And it worked out. And it's a good business. Like I said, right now we're kind of at capacity, just because of the population density. So we have to I have to figure out a value add, and that's where I kind of, am expanding or exploring this multi-sports facility in the area.
Nice. And we met right for lunch the other day, and really cool to kind of hear the complexity of what you're thinking, the reason, right? There has to be a why, a purpose of what you're going to serve. What are you solving as an entrepreneur, right? And you're solving a really cool aspect of it. So, but just for a second to go back, Go for CEO community, what he really did there is talk to a business owner, had a cup, glass of wine, maybe a bottle of wine, but, a bottle of wine, and with someone that he already had a relationship with. This lady goes through a scenario, a tragedy through her life. This particular business wasn't necessarily her passion, right? But she loved it because she birthed it with her husband that had deceased, right? And I can only imagine the conversation, and you start to work into the dynamic of, like, all right, well, what's the business doing? What's the profitability? You talked about 2 times cash flow. We call it in the finance world EBITDA, right? Earnings before interest, depreciation, and amortization. And a lot of people don't realize that you can buy businesses this way. A lot of times zero down, and you buy a business, right? You have an owner that's committed maybe for a 5-year or 10-year stint. They annuitize their business, instead of selling the business and hopefully getting, I don't know, 300, 500, $1 million, putting it into an annuity and get paid. Let that business be their business owners that are thinking about selling your businesses. Talk to a guy like Dominic, go for CEO mentality, right? And go make that connection, and now put a deal together that, as it flourishes, there could be a part of your agreement that your payment goes up. As it struggles maybe a little bit, has some downtimes, have an agreement that, just to be tempered. But what a cool experience. So, let's go into, because I want to leave that last part of the growth of the complexes, because I want to dedicate about 5-10 minutes to that in the interview here. But just to keep on, so what are the first things that you did when you took over the business? Like, did you look at operations, the sales incentives? Did you look at equipment? I know that you inherited some equipment and bought, through the process. What are 2 or 3 things that you did when you took over that business?
So I partnered with a guy who had a lot more experience than me in the sales and membership aspect of it and operations. A guy named by Mike Bell, and he's really good at seeing that also. So there were, before, again, we buy it during COVID, so it's, our traffic wasn't going to be. We had, Illinois had restrictions on the amount of people in the facility, type of thing. So how Mike and I were, trying to figure it out, like, so we cut the classes because it was a full service facility. Still is a full service facility, but they had, 4 or 5 classes every day of the week, which is expensive. That's, you're paying $25 a class, for current members that are there, who are only paying 35, $40 at the time, 30 or $35 actually. And so initially when we went in there, the current value for a full service club is, $40, $45. So we initially started selling memberships at $40. We had, enrollment fee that we put in place also. And then the classes, we made that as a value added. If you want to just come in and work out, it's going to be the $40 or $45. If you want to do the classes, how many classes a week do you want to come in and do it and everything? So then we we tapered it towards group training. So each class is different. So it's a different type of group personal training. Our instructors are all certified personal trainers. And they love building that culture and relationship with those individual members also in their class. And it's, if you go to any club, if you look at the class, it's consistently the same people. They don't like change. They don't like, they like the group. And that's why I like this club, is because everyone that was using the classes were the same people over and over again. So I grandfathered the current memberships. Anyone who, when I bought the business, excuse me, I sent an email out to everyone like, hey, you're all locked in. This is going to be your rate. Same, principles that the previous owner had, and in December, they do a maintenance fee instead of increasing dues every year. Right. So all those people were locked in that same aspect. But any new member we did, if you wanted group exercise, it was more expensive than the $40 a month. I started out at 40. Year 2, it was up to 45. This year we're doing $50 a month for the membership. And, depending on the individual, we don't want to, obviously you never want to say able to walk out the door. So I do, give them breaks. I'll waive the enrollment fee. I'm like, well, if you can't afford 50, how about 40? And 7 times out of 10, they appreciate that. You're still saving them money. And that's how I always view all the memberships. Like, I want you to be in here because you want to get healthier, you want to work out. And then I always, as I tour them, I introduce them to members. And, I remember there's still a member there raves about the club because it's just that family environment and that culture, which is key I think for any business. And a lot of them are from LA Fitness and from Planet Fitness and everything. And they just don't or export, there's some people that, that work in the area. So instead they quit working out at export because the same thing, they just have a huge facility that has everything, but there's no relationship. There's no culture. There's, a very individualistic, and we're more, when you have that motivation, you have people helping you, you're more prone to stay with that. Like I said, family, and you achieve your goals eventually. I mean, you start coming on a regular basis because you want to see people, like you want to see your friends, so that becomes part of the routine. So yeah, so we do the group training and the group exercise classes is a value added. So if you want to pay for that, that's, a lot of people do. And we try to, figure out accordingly to their needs and benefits.
I love it. It's so interesting when you think about the dynamic of a small to medium-sized business, right? Implementing little things that could be the differentiator against your bigger competition, right? I'll just put it out there. I mean, we had lunch. I shared with you, one of the things that kind of got me away from one of the bigger ones is the cleanliness, right?
Mhm.
You know, you mentioned, and I'll just kind of promote you because you said it, and you know, like you guys pay attention to the cleanliness of the location, right, of the gym, and you know the barbells and the bathrooms, and you know you have showers at your place, right? So that, you know, that could be tedious to clean up, and the labor to want to do that, right? So you, what a great culture that you shared at our lunch. So, you know, so marketing wise, you know, so you get in, you know, you said you partnered with a guy that kind of had that mindset of understanding the sales side of things, the memberships, and you've been able to maintain or even grow that from the 3 years ago, right?
Mhm.
So when you think about marketing and how you're marketing your business at this point, is it an ingrained word of mouth marketing? Do you have internal mechanisms that you do, like, hey, if you bring a friend, you get a referral fee? Or are you pretty strong in social media? How are you developing and growing that marketing side?
Word of mouth has been the key because of the culture and the environment. But then we're on Facebook and on Instagram. The social media aspect, the marketing is very cost effective. You know, you can set your budget to a daily, like if you want to spend 15 or $20 a day, or something like that. So it's on the engagement, the way you have to set the if you've ever done the ads on there and you see them on
Mhm.
Facebook where it says, you know, you'll have the little tab that says learn more, or you know, whatever. So if the person looks at the ad, that's one thing. If they hit that tab for learn more, then you know, now you have their information, their phone number and everything, email address. And then usually by the way we structured our ads is that they're setting up appointments anyway for themselves if they want to get more information. um, that's been really helpful. And so, you know, again, it's a law of attrition. So you have, you know, 20 or 30 people fill out, you know, click on the ads or whatever, you know, you're going to sign up probably 3 or 4 people. um, so it's been, you know, we have you know, videos of the classes. I'll do a, you know, shoot quick 30-second video of one of the group exercise classes. Or if there's a, you know, a bunch of people working out together in the weight room, I'll film that really quick and post it on social media and drop that picture or video link into the ad. And you know, Mike is a very bubbly personality type of guy, so he does a lot of the videos to himself with his other clips. Because if you know, we are a franchise, but all the franchises have access to the other one. So Mike has, you know, 7 other clubs in the Lake and McCounty County area that
Mm.
you can work out at. You know, it's just a regular key fob system. So your key fob works at every one of the places, and that's kind of the value add too. So it's, you know, so if you're in the area, and they're all, you know, they're really designed well. Mike's done a good job of, each place is 5 to 7 miles apart from each other.
Mm.
So if you're out in McHenry at one of your sons or daughters' events or something, and you want to get a quick workout in while they're doing something, you're like, oh, you just go to McHenry, just go, you know, go to Richmond or go to Gray's Lake or Gage's Lake or whatever, you know, any one of those locations, get a quick workout in if you want to, you know, to pass the time, if you will.
No,
Um,
yeah, I mean, makes a lot of sense, right?
yeah.
Strategically, to kind of put everything in reference, right? To compete again against the bigger,
Mhm.
you know, box type places, right? To add value, and that's a cool concept to be able to also, if they get access to other, you know, locations, it really makes you feel like, all right, I'm paying $50, but it's like 10 locations. I'm really paying $5 a location, right? So
Mhm. Right,
it's
right.
yeah, it's really neat when you start to break it down that way. So neat. Well, you know, what's one thing that, you know, the Go for CEO community can get from your experience of taking over? So, give us a little bit of insight on, you know, there was obviously a team there. It was very family oriented, not only with the clients, but I'm assuming the people that work there as well, right? The teammates, the colleagues. What are
Yep.
some of the things that you've learned from taking over and then adapting, right?
Yeah.
Maybe the lady that you bought it from, and her husband had a certain style.
Yeah.
You know, being a coach, you have a certain style, right? So how did you adapt and then see that growth and connectivity within your colleagues?
So yeah, we had that's a great question. when we first went in there and after we bought the business, then the next day, I emailed all the employees, and, we had a couple, that were loyal, if you will, but wanted to go off on their own. And then just building relationships. I had to build trust with them. And like, again, I'm not a huge turnover guy. I don't like turnover. And when you got that culture and the relationships of the current employees, you can figure out, there's always going to be a bad apple. So you can kind of figure them out, right? You can spot them right away, just in building relationships and the feel you get for them. And I just let them know I kept them at the current rates that they were paying, the previous owner was paying. I wasn't going in there like a, corporate raider, Wolf of Wall Street guy. And you used to get paid 25, now you're going to get paid 20, I said, I'll keep you at your current rate. And, and I cut, I allowed them to still, if they were personal training instead of our new model that we were doing, I said, let's just keep the same personal training. If we give you any clients from our new model, then we're just going to pay you what our rate is. And they were fine with that. Again, because you don't want to take, to me, I don't want to take the hard work that they did away from them, like coming into a new facility and be, and just drop the hammer on them or anything like that. I wanted to build relationships, and I still have relationships with a lot of those trainers, even the ones that left. I always gave an open door to them. On the overall operation staff, kids club that we have, front desk people, sales people and everything, we did a little restructuring there and made it more performance incentive for them. And a couple of them didn't want to do it, but what I did do for them, I said, well, look, I'll give you a membership. We'll set up a membership for you. Here's a key fob. You can go work out. And you're more than welcome to come back, and just use the facility. And they were appreciative. They understood like the business aspect of, having to cut hours on the operational staff, because I'm still financing a business. The kids club, we would have, when I went in there was 3 college girls, and they would be there from 8 to 5, but we only had kids in there from 9 to 11, and then from 5 to 7. There was no reason to keep them out throughout the whole day. And so those were the kind of the 2 shifts where the majority was. But all those individuals who I did end up cutting, I gave them memberships. I gave them, I said, hey, just come in, work out, just come in and see everyone and everything. And a lot of them still were babysitting on the side. The kids that were coming into the kid clubs, they would ask where the college kids were at. And I'm like, well, here's their phone number. And, they would call them up and they would babysit for them and stuff like that. So you always try to create value, even though it's a bad situation, what you're going through as a business owner, but then you have a relationship. It's a young college kid, working, going to the local community college or something, and trying to work and have, make some money and everything. So I try to create value for them and make it a positive for them, and still communicate with them today. And it's a good, again, I always want to create value even in a bad situation.
It's interesting, right? You could either have a mindset of scarcity, right? Like, oh no, I want to just hoard everything, right? Mm-hmm. Or abundance. And the fact that you even said right there that, hey, I would give the number out of the college student, and they would be able to flourish with maybe a babysitting opportunity outside of your organization, is an abundance mindset, right?
Yeah.
That it's going to come back fully, right? And I think it's hard for a lot of people to think that way, especially, you take over a small business, you're kind of counting every single dollar. You've invested your time, you've invested into a seller finance, scenario. You got to deliver, right? Or else you could lose that business, right? So it's really, really interesting that you had that, and super excited. And one of probably the secrets of why you're succeeding. So look, I promised, I'm really excited about the sport complex side of things. I think it's a big, big vision. We talked about it at lunch, and I think a lot of people should get to hear about it. It's still in progress, right? And trying to hammer everything out. But if you don't mind sharing kind of high level, what your thoughts are of taking Era Fitness, right, to where it's at, to where you want it to go, and some of the vision that you have with that.
Yeah, yeah. Part of my background, besides the fitness industry, was I coached travel athletics. I coached at Oakton Community College, but I was a travel basketball coach before I coached at Oakton, and helping kids achieve their goals. Like a lot of the travel athletics, it gets competitive, and kids want to play in college. Not everyone's a Division I basketball player. 99% of the kids that you coach are Division III or Division II or JUCO kids, depending on their grades, but they still love the game. And they want to use that game as an opportunity to get to college, to get into a college. Some kids can't eat. There could be a kid who's a Division I kid, but he's a 2.5 grade point average student. He no chance in heck that he would get into some big Division I school, Power 5 school. But through athletics, that was achievable. The schools give them that opportunity, and that's become my passion. My son was going through travel athletics. He's now a freshman at Kansas State, and helping any kid in travel. Look, travel athletics got expensive. It's $2,000, it's $3,000. Cheerleading and gymnastics is off the charts. Now, those are two sports that we're not looking to get into just because of we won't have the facility for it. But there's always a way to make it affordable for everyone. There's a lot of in where I live, Round Lake. I live in Round Lake Heights, but Round Lake High School is the median income is under $60,000 for a family. And that's not very affordable to pursue travel athletics. So because for example, a travel team, whatever it be, basketball, baseball, softball, volleyball, whatever, everyone wants to charge $2,000, $2,500, $3,000. And for a person making 60 grand, that's a lot of money. It's a huge investment. A lot of them don't have, there's more people in the United States living paycheck to paycheck than there are people that have expendable income. And so I always came up with the model, what can you afford? There's no reason why your child should ever be cut from a team or not be on a team just because of their parents' income. That's not their fault at all. And as I was coaching, my mentor in coaching is a guy who owns Steve Pratt, who owns Full Package Athletics. He's like, we're never going to cut a kid. We are just never going to do that. Just if the parents can't afford it, we will figure it out. And that's how my model is. And so, yes, the overall sticker price might be $2,000, but hey, if you want to pay $25 a month or $50 a month, we'll do it. We'll make it happen. And spread it out over the course of your year. If your kid wants to play basketball and volleyball, we'll make it happen. And you want to pay $100 a month, you can pay $100 a month. Because kind of the nature of athletics, in my opinion, the high schools do a good job of, it's low cost to be at a public high school to play a sport. It's, $150 or whatever. But they're not they're not opening the doors for the kids to play in college. College now is a big money business. So those college coaches don't have the opportunity to come watch you play. Like when I played, the college coaches had that freedom to kind of get away and go watch a high school game. Now, you'll see a college coach for basketball. I'll use basketball because I'm a basketball coach. They'll be there for one day during Thanksgiving break, and then one day in December, because the basketball players in college are in finals week. So, they'll have practice in the morning, and then the coaches will go in the evening and try and catch a game of a player that they're already recruiting. But how did they already recruit that player? They saw him in the summer and in the spring and whatever travel event you were playing. So I want every kid to have that opportunity. If they want to try, every kid can play in college. I truly believe there's thousands and thousands of colleges throughout the United States, right? And they need players too. So if you want to go to a D3 school or a JUCO or whatever, if you want to play, there's an opportunity for you to play. Now you have to have the reality of your level and your skill level and athleticism and stuff like that. But there's a school that will take you if you want to play. You don't have to quit after high school. And travel athletics has done that. My kind of model right now is why I want to do more streaming of our practices, more streaming of our events, because building an individual kid's brand, I don't want to say building the brand, but giving them exposure to other colleges. And colleges will pay to watch a practice, and interview kids and talk to kids and just helping and giving them the opportunity is where I think a lot of travel programs don't capitalize on, which is great for me because I really think my model is unique. And I want to give every kid that opportunity and exposure. And a lot of programs they're all about the teams. I'm not going to name programs, but there's programs that have 80 teams, through, fourth grade through high school, and you lose in coaching, there's a lot of things you lose in, but they're not really maximizing that kid's opportunity to go to a college or find a college or, be seen by the right people. So my model is we'll give you that opportunity, and we're not looking to be big. We're not looking to be 80 teams in a sport where, we can make it work and give the individual that opportunity.
Really focused, right? I mean, and bring a centralization of how you're going to do it. Really cool. And obviously your complex is going to be very diverse in the sports, from what you shared with me, the complex is really kind of, set up in a way. There's even going to be podcasting. There's going to be streaming, like you said, and services that a median income type of family, especially Fox Lake, America, Illinois area, can really afford. So that's really, really cool, man. So, well, Nick, look, I mean, obviously we'd love to have you on multiple times over the next few years, right? Every 6 to 12 months, we have people on with Go for CEO as kind of follow-up interviews. So we're, Go for CEO community, follow Dominic Pavell and the areas that he's doing business in at Era Fitness. And then also I'd love to end our interviews typically, Dominic, with CEO, right? So, client experience. So we'll focus in on Era Fitness at the moment, right? Until you get that big complex, right? And then engagement and operational excellence. So if you think about client experience, you talked a lot about that community and everything, but just 30 seconds on what makes Era Fitness and in this competitive industry that you're in, what's the client experience when they step into Era Fitness?
It's a family environment, family and community environment. We build relationships, like I said, we build relationships. We're not looking for members. We're looking for individuals who want to be a family and be a part of a family and community. And that's our biggest thing. We have a lot of people who are introverted, so to speak, but you can always say hi to somebody when they walk in. How are you doing?
Sure.
Always make eye contact, shake a hand if you can, introduce them, and always follow up with them and just build relationships. That's the key to any small business, any customer, and it is an opportunity to meet somebody.
Awesome. And, this will probably parlay into that. So I'm curious how you're going to answer this, but engagement, right? I used to say employee engagement on these interviews, but it's really engagement in general. It could be your vendors, the children that you coach, the members that you have, the teammates that you work with, right? So what is a top reason, another 30 seconds of just how and why people engage with Dominic and Era Fitness?
Actually, Fox Lake is a community where it's very athletic based. They really support the high schools and the middle schools and the kids participating in sports. I try to go out, as a travel basketball coach, I go watch games, 10 times a week, 10 different games a week. So I try to go out and support the kids and say, hey, there's an opportunity for you. Keep on working hard. If you want to come play for us, great. If not, this is what you need to do, and kind of give them some points and talk to the parents and kind of guide them through that way also. Because a lot of parents don't understand what it takes to get to the kids want to play in high school and want to play in college, and it's a competitive atmosphere. So you just kind of hey, I'm here to help you. If you have questions, give me a call. Come by the club. You know, you don't have to join. We can sit and meet and talk for a half hour, 45 minutes on how to help your son develop or your daughter develop, or what avenues there are, because a lot of parents don't know. So just being engaged in the community and always, you know, seeing, I don't want to say see an opportunity, but to try and help somebody. My overall information when I give people, I kind of guide them through. I kind of consult with them and on athletics, and just like, I don't ask for money. I'm just trying to help you. Hey, if you want to do this, here's, you know, I know a lot of people in the business, so here's 5 people in basketball. Here's 4 or 5 people in softball or volleyball, whatever it is. Like, you know, give them the opportunity and say, hey, it's kind of the nature of the beast is what you have to look at. And, you know, and if you need help with financial reasons, you know, I can help you engage with the owners and say, hey, this person really needs some help. Let's really, you know, let's not let them fall away just because their parents can't afford it or something. And I'm never afraid to have that conversation to help a kid.
Oh, hey man, people need advocates. You know, a lot of times it's just that one little extra person sharing, you know, and supporting, and that reciprocates, right? That's that reciprocation scenario where you add value, you do something for someone, it always comes back, right? I think we all, you know, learn that hopefully throughout life, right? So awesome. Well, the last one is operational excellence, and you touched on it. Era Fitness has, you know, this community of like within 5 to 7 miles have another facility. You know, I'm assuming there's some software, some things that you do, but what just operationally do you feel like you do and in the business to kind of keep you streamlined as a business?
I still think the social media aspect, platforming right now is the best way to engage with potential members and current members, and having content. There's an individual I know through my kid went to Carmel High School, and he owned, you know, movie studios and everything. And this is a profound statement. He said, the number one manufactured thing in the United States right now is content. Anything in the United States, you think about cars, you think about widgets or whatever is being manufactured right now. The number one thing in the United States is content, whether it be TV, whether it be this podcast, whether it be, that's the number one thing. That's how we view our social media platforms is we're going to get out there and we're just going to build relationships with you through social media, whether it be Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, you know, whatever it is. People are a little bit more comfortable by themselves in that aspect. So, hey, you know, I'm not a hard selling type of guy. I just want you to be comfortable. And so, you know, our ads are very open and welcoming in that aspect of it. And we just want to build relationships, even if it's, you know, if you don't want to join, that's fine. Well, you know, I'll help you whatever you need. So that's our biggest thing too. They might not join the club, but if you have questions with something else, give me a call. I'll help you. It's easy.
You know, what popped in my head is in real estate, they say location, location, location. In your business, in your industry, and everything that you've done is relationship, 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 right? So awesome stuff. Well, hey, Dominic, thank you so much for chopping on in the Go for CEO channel here, you know, community. Tell them, you know, how to reach you, hopefully your website, you know, what's the best way to interact with you? Obviously, if you're in that Fox Lake area, you know, how to come to Era Fitness and be a part of the community that you built.
Yeah, so our website is AIRA fitness.com/Fox Lake. My Twitter is @dpavell, Pavell. Facebook is Dominic, Dominic Pavell, and I forgot my actually Snapchat one. Right, my Instagram is Dominic Pavell, also @dpavell. So we have the Instagram and Twitter for Era Fitness at Fox Lake for Twitter and Facebook and Instagram also. And come check us out. You know, come you shoot me a call, shoot me a text. John, you got my number, so you know, feel free to give it out and have somebody text me with any questions.
Awesome, brother. Well, hey, thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, sometimes I forget at the beginning, but here it is. You know, subscribe to the channel. You know, it's Go for CEO. CEOs, founders, entrepreneurs, intrapreneurs, people doing stuff inside the community. Worldwide, we've had people from Ireland, from Australia, from the United States, obviously Canada. So a lot of great businesses that you just don't even know about. There's 23, 27 million in the United States alone. Get alone, you know, think about it worldwide. So Thanks, Dominic, for being a
Thank
part
you.
of the Go for CEO channel, my friend. And
Thank you
we'll
for the
have you on
opportunity.
soon again.
Yeah, absolutely. Take care.